Captain Jack Harrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, staring at the massive energy wall that had trapped humanity for 53 years. The barrier shimmered like a soap bubble, but he knew it was stronger than any metal. Behind that wall lay the entire galaxy, full of alien races who had decided humans were too dangerous to exist among them. "Sir, Dr. Carter is ready in the lab," said Commander Lisa Mitchell, her cybernetic arm gleaming under the bridge lights. The arm was a reminder of the last fight before the Exile, when humans had tried to prove they belonged in the galaxy. They had failed. Jack nodded and walked through the corridors of his ship. The Liberty was one of the last great warships humanity had built. Now it carried their last hope. Earth was dying slowly. The air was getting thinner, the oceans more polluted. Without trade with other worlds, humanity had maybe 20 years left before everything collapsed. In the science lab, Dr. Paul Carter was bent over a strange machine covered in wires and blinking lights. The man looked tired. He had spent 10 years trying to break through the alien barrier that kept them locked away from the stars. "Tell me you have good news, Paul," Jack said. Carter looked up with bloodshot eyes. "I think I cracked it, Jack. The quantum tunneling field should let us phase through their barrier, but I can only do it once. After that, they'll know we're out." "What are our chances of making it through alive?" "Honestly, about 60%. The energy readings are off the charts. We might get torn apart at the molecular level." Jack turned to look out the lab window at Earth below. Cities that once held billions now housed only millions. The great forests were gone. The blue oceans had turned gray. This was not the world he had grown up on. "Sir?" Lieutenant Amy Foster appeared in the doorway. She was young, maybe 25, born after the Exile began. She had never seen the stars up close, never met an alien, never known what it felt like to travel between worlds. "The crew is ready. 500 of our best people, just like the government ordered." Jack smiled at her. Amy represented everything good about humanity's future, if they had one. She was smart, brave, and hopeful despite growing up in a cage. "Are you scared, Amy?" "Terrified, sir, but also excited. We get to see what's out there." 3 hours later, the Liberty moved toward the barrier. The ship's engines hummed with power as Carter's new device charged up. On the bridge, everyone was quiet. They all knew this was humanity's last chance. "Quantum field at 50%, Carter reported from his station. "All systems green," called Danny Martinez from engineering. "Weapons ready," added Colonel Steve Parker, though Jack hoped they would not need guns today. "Field at 90%. "This is it, Captain." Jack looked around at his crew. These were the people Earth trusted to find a way forward. Some were old soldiers like him, others were young dreamers like Amy. All of them were volunteers. "Take us through, Dr. Carter." The machine screamed to life. Energy coursed through the ship like lightning. The barrier ahead of them began to ripple and bend. Space itself seemed to twist around the Liberty. Jack felt his stomach lurch as reality shifted. Then, suddenly, they were through. "We made it," Amy shouted, but her joy died quickly. The space around them was not the peaceful galaxy they expected. Explosions lit up distant stars. Debris from destroyed ships floated past their windows. Energy beams lanced through the darkness as massive fleets fought battles across multiple star systems. "What happened here?" Lisa whispered. "Scanning now," Carter said, his fingers flying over his controls. "I'm reading thousands of ships in combat. Energy signatures I've never seen before. And Jack, some of these battles are happening near core worlds. Important places." "Sir, incoming transmission," the communications officer reported. "Multiple sources. They're all saying the same thing. Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was strange, like wind through metal tubes. "Unknown vessel, you have entered a war zone. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed. The Confederation of United Worlds is under attack by hostile forces from the Andromeda Galaxy." Jack exchanged looks with his crew. The Confederation was the group of alien races that had exiled humanity. Now they were fighting for their lives against something even worse. "This is Captain Jack Harrison of the Earth vessel USS Liberty. We request permission to approach and offer assistance." The silence lasted almost a minute. When the alien voice returned, it sounded shocked. "Did you say Earth? That is impossible. Earth is quarantined. Humans are forbidden in Confederation space." "Not anymore," Jack said firmly. "We're here, and we want to help." Another long pause, then, "Stand by for escort. Any hostile action will result in your immediate destruction." Minutes later, 3 alien ships appeared around the Liberty. They were beautiful vessels, all curves and silver metal, nothing like the angular human design. But Jack could see burn marks on their hulls and gaps where weapons had been torn away. "They're hurting," Amy observed quietly. "The question is," Jack said, "are they hurting enough to work with us?" As the alien escort led them deeper into the war zone, the crew of the Liberty saw the scale of the destruction. Entire planets showed scars from orbital bombardment. Space stations hung broken in the void. Ships from dozens of alien races fled, in all directions, carrying refugees from worlds that no longer existed. "Carter, what are you seeing on long-range sensors?" "It's bad, Jack, really bad. Whatever hit the galaxy came from outside. Their technology is at least a century ahead of anything the Confederation had, maybe ahead of us too." "How many worlds have fallen?" "From what I can tell, more than half. The Confederation is losing this war badly." Jack stared at the view screen as they passed the burning remains of what had once been a space city. Millions of aliens had lived there. Now it was just glowing metal and frozen atmosphere. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "what if this is our chance?" "What do you mean?" "The aliens who exiled us are desperate. They need help. Maybe they need us badly, enough to forgive the past." "Or maybe," Colonel Parker said grimly, "they're desperate enough to use us as cannon fodder and then throw us away again when the fighting is done." Jack nodded. Parker was right to be suspicious. But as he watched another alien ship explode in the distance, he also knew that humanity might be looking at its own future if this enemy ever turned toward Earth. "Amy, set course for the lead escort ship. We're going to find out what happened to the galaxy we left behind, and maybe, just maybe, we're going to help save it." The alien command ship was 3 times larger than the Liberty, but it looked like it had been through hell. Huge sections of its silver hull were blackened by weapon strikes. Entire decks appeared to have been torn away by some terrible force. As the human ship docked with the alien vessel, Captain Jack Harrison wondered what kind of enemy could do this much damage to the peaceful races of the galaxy. Admiral Kessitar was not what Jack expected. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall, on 6 thin legs with 4 arms that moved like water. Its skin was the color of deep ocean, and its large black eyes showed exhaustion that went beyond physical tiredness. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of someone who had seen too many good people die. "Captain Harrison," Kessitar said through the translation device, "I was at the first meeting with your species 53 years ago. I voted to exile your people. I believed humans were too violent, too unpredictable to be trusted among civilized worlds." Jack remained silent. He had learned that sometimes listening was more important than talking. "I was wrong," the alien admiral continued. "Not about humans being violent, you are violent. But I was wrong about what that meant. We thought violence was always evil. Now we understand that sometimes violence is the only thing that can stop greater evil." Commander Lisa Mitchell stepped forward. "What happened here, Admiral? Our sensors show massive destruction across multiple star systems." Kessitar's 4 arms moved in what might have been the alien equivalent of a tired shrug. 3 years ago, ships began appearing from the direction of the Andromeda Galaxy. Not explorers or traders. War machines. They called themselves the Zephyrian Collective. They do not negotiate. They do not take prisoners. They simply consume everything in their path. Dr. Paul Carter pulled out his scanner and studied the readings from the alien ship. "Their technology is incredible, but it's also strange. Everything is connected like parts of a single giant machine." "That is because it is," Kessitar explained. The Zephyrians share a single mind across their entire species. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon thinks and acts as one. They are perfectly coordinated, perfectly efficient. They do not make mistakes. That sounds terrifying, Amy Foster said quietly. It is. In 3 years, they have conquered 60% of Confederation space. Billions of beings are dead or enslaved. Our fleets are broken. Our worlds burn. We estimate 6 months before they reach the core worlds and finish what they started. Jack looked around the alien ship's bridge. The crew moved with the slow, defeated motions of people who had given up hope. He had seen the same look on human faces during Earth's darkest days after the Exile. "Why are you telling us this?" he asked. "Last time we met, you wanted us locked away forever." Kestar's black eyes focused on Jack with painful intensity. "Because we are dying, Captain Harrison. Because the peaceful ways that defined our civilization for thousands of years are not enough against an enemy that shows no mercy. Because we need allies who understand violence, who can think like killers when killing is necessary." "You want to use us as weapons," Colonel Steve Parker said bluntly. "Yes. But not as tools to be thrown away, as partners. The Confederation Council has authorized me to make an offer. Help us defeat the Zephyrians, and humanity will be granted full membership in the Confederation. Your exile will end. Earth will have access to galactic trade, technology, and resources." Jack felt his heart race. This was what humanity had dreamed of for 53 years, a chance to rejoin the galactic community. But he had learned to be suspicious of offers that seemed too good to be true. "What do you need us to do?" "There is a survivor colony on Altair Prime. The planet fell to the Zephyrians 2 weeks ago, but our sensors detect life signs in the underground shelters. We need to evacuate those people before the Zephyrians find them. And you cannot do this yourselves because every time we have tried a rescue mission, we lose more ships than we save lives. We are too predictable. The Zephyrians always know where we will attack and how we will retreat." Dr. Carter looked up from his scanner. "How many survivors?" "Approximately 10,000. Mixed species, families with children." Jack looked at his crew. Amy was nodding eagerly. Lisa was calculating odds in her head. Parker looked suspicious, but ready for a fight. Carter was already thinking about technical solutions. "We'll need full sensor data on Zephyrian ship capabilities," Jack said finally. "Weapons specifications, armor thickness, engine signatures, everything you have." "Of course. But Captain, you should know that this mission has a very low survival probability. The Zephyrians have had time to fortify Altair Prime. They will be ready for rescue attempts." "Then we won't make a rescue attempt," Jack replied. "We'll do something they won't expect." 6 hours later, the Liberty flew alongside 2 Confederation ships toward Altair Prime. The planet hung in space like a wounded animal, its cities dark and lifeless from orbit. But Jack's sensors detected the massive Zephyrian presence on the surface and the orbital defense platforms they had built from the wreckage of the planet's defenders. 15 enemy ships in orbit, Amy reported from her station. Plus those defense platforms. We're outnumbered 5-1. "Dr. Carter, tell me about those Zephyrian ships." "They're powerful, but they all follow the same basic design, same weapons, same armor, same engine configurations. It's like they built them from a single blueprint." "That's because they did," Jack realized. "If they all share one mind, they would never see the need for variety. Every ship is exactly like every other ship." "So?" Parker asked. "So they'll all react the same way to the same threat. Lisa, remember the Trafalgar maneuver from the Academy?" Commander Mitchell smiled grimly. "Fake retreat, draw them into a crossfire, then hit them from an unexpected angle. Classic human deception tactics. Will it work against a hive mind? Only one way to find out." The Liberty charged toward the Zephyrian formation with guns blazing. The alien ships immediately moved to intercept, following what was obviously a preset defensive pattern. At the last moment, Jack ordered a full retreat, making it look like the humans had lost their nerve dot. The Zephyrian ships pursued in perfect formation, maintaining optimal firing solutions and coordination. They were absolutely predictable, which was why they flew directly into the ambush the two Confederation ships had prepared. Energy beams lanced through space as the alien allies opened fire from both sides. 3 Zephyrian ships exploded immediately. The others tried to adapt, but their shared mind could not process the sudden change in tactics fast enough. Now, Amy, take us down to the planet. Fast and low. The Liberty dove toward Altair Prime's surface while the space battle raged above them. Jack felt a wild joy he had not experienced in decades. For the first time in 53 years, humans were fighting alongside aliens instead of against them. And they were winning. Life signs detected in the northern continent, Carter reported. But Captain, I'm also reading massive Zephyrian ground forces moving toward the survivor locations. How long do we have? Maybe an hour before they breach the shelter doors. Jack looked at the tactical display. 10,000 lives hanging in the balance. The first real test of whether humans and aliens could work together. The first chance to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars. All hands prepare for combat insertion. We're going to save every single person down there, and we're going to show the galaxy what humans can do. The ground battle on Altair Prime was unlike anything Captain Jack Harrison had ever seen. The Zephyrian soldiers moved like parts of a machine, perfectly coordinated but completely predictable. They advanced in straight lines, fired in synchronized volleys, and retreated in orderly formations. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It was also exactly what Colonel Steve Parker had hoped for. They fight like robots, Parker reported over the radio as his Marines engaged the enemy. Same tactics every time. Once you figure out their pattern, you can be 3 steps ahead of them. Jack crouched behind the ruins of a fallen building, watching his people work alongside alien soldiers for the first time in human history. The results were surprising. Where alien units followed careful, methodical assault plans, the humans improvised wildly. Where aliens maintained formation discipline, humans scattered and regrouped in unpredictable ways. The Zephyrians, designed to counter organized military tactics, struggled to adapt to human chaos. Shelter complex is 200 meters ahead, Amy Foster called out. She had volunteered to lead one of the rescue teams, despite having no combat experience. I can see survivors through the blast doors. Zephyrian reinforcements incoming from the east, added Dr. Paul Carter, who was somehow managing to run scientific scans while dodging enemy fire. Big ones, they're heavy assault units. Jack made a decision that would have horrified any traditional military commander. Instead of organizing a defensive line, he ordered his forces to split into a dozen small groups and attack the Zephyrians from every direction at once. Sir, that violates every principle of combined arms tactics, one of the Confederation officers protested. Good, Jack replied. Because the Zephyrians know all about combined arms tactics. They don't know anything about what humans call guerrilla warfare. The battle that followed was messy, chaotic, and completely unpredictable. Human teams popped up from unexpected locations, fired a few shots, and disappeared again. They used the rubble of destroyed buildings like a 3-dimensional maze, turning the urban landscape into a weapon. Meanwhile, alien soldiers provided heavy fire support and technical expertise, creating a combination that the Zephyrian hive mind simply could not process effectively. It's working, Amy reported breathlessly as her team reached the first shelter. The civilians are scared but alive, mixed species, just like Admiral Kessatar said. Families with children. Jack felt a surge of emotion as he watched human Marines helping alien children climb into evacuation shuttles. These were the same species that had voted to exile humanity. Now human soldiers were risking their lives to save alien families. It was either deeply ironic or profoundly hopeful. Maybe both. Sir, we have a problem, Lisa Mitchell's voice crackled over the radio. Long-range sensors are picking up a massive Zephyrian fleet heading this way. Looks like our little rescue mission got their attention. How long do we have? 6 hours, maybe less. Jack looked around at the evacuation operation. They had rescued about half the survivors, but the remaining shelters were deeper underground and more heavily defended by Zephyrian forces. 6 hours was not nearly enough time. "Danny, I need everything the Liberty's engines can give us," he called to his chief engineer. "Sir, if I push them any harder, we might blow the reactor. Then we better work fast." The next 3 hours were a blur of impossible decisions and desperate gambles. Jack found himself working more closely with alien commanders than he ever had with some human officers. Admiral Kessitar proved to be a brilliant strategist once he stopped trying to fight a conventional war. Dr. Carter and the Confederation scientists managed to crack the Zephyrian communication codes, giving the rescue teams advance warning of enemy movements. But it was Amy Foster who came up with the idea that changed everything. "Sir, what if we don't try to fight our way to the remaining shelters?" she suggested during a brief planning session in a bombed-out school. "What if we bring the shelters to us?" "Explain." Dr. Carter says the underground complexes are modular, self-contained units connected by tunnels. If we could cut the connections and use the Liberty's tractor beam to pull entire sections to the surface. "That's insane," Parker said immediately. "It's also brilliant," Carter added, his eyes lighting up. "The structural stress would be enormous, but if we reinforce the key joints with our emergency repair foam—" "Do it," Jack ordered. What followed was one of the strangest rescue operations in galactic history. The Liberty, designed as a warship, found itself playing the role of a construction crane, carefully extracting underground shelters like a child pulling toys from a sandbox. Human Marines provided security, while alien engineers solved impossible technical problems on the fly. The Zephyrians, meanwhile, seemed completely baffled by the entire operation. Their hive mind had tactics for every conventional military scenario, but nothing in their programming covered the possibility of enemies who treated major engineering projects as routine battlefield activities. "Last shelter coming up now," Amy reported as the Liberty's tractor beam strained to lift a section containing nearly 1,000 survivors. "Structural integrity is holding but barely. Zephyrian fleet is 2 hours out," Lisa added. "We need to leave now." Jack watched the final evacuation shuttle dock with the Liberty. 10,000 lives saved, not one human casualty, and only minor injuries among their alien allies. It was the kind of victory that would have seemed impossible just days ago. But as the Liberty and its escort ships fled toward safer space, Jack realized that something fundamental had changed. Human and alien crew members were working together seamlessly, sharing ideas and solving problems with a speed and creativity that surprised everyone. "Captain," Admiral Kessitar said as they reached the edge of the system, "your tactics today were unconventional." Is that alien speak for completely crazy? Perhaps, but they were also effective. "My species has been fighting the Zephyrians for 3 years and never achieved anything close to today's success. You rescued 10,000 people with 0 fatalities. We had help. Good help." Kessitar's forearms moved in what Jack was learning to recognize as the alien equivalent of a smile. "Yes, perhaps that is the point. Humans fight differently than any species we have encountered. You embrace chaos instead of avoiding it. You see opportunities where we see only problems. And perhaps that is exactly what this galaxy needs to survive." Dr. Carter looked up from his analysis station. "Sir, I've been studying the Zephyrian communication intercepts we captured. They're adapting to our tactics faster than I expected. The hive mind is learning. How long before they figure out how to counter human unpredictability? Hard to say. Maybe months, maybe less. But Jack, there's something else. The communications mentioned something called the Gateway Project. Construction in the galactic core. I think they're building something big." Jack stared out at the stars, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. They had won one battle and saved 10,000 lives, but the war was far from over, and humanity had just announced to the galaxy that they were back. "Set course for Confederation Command," he ordered. "It's time to find out if they're serious about making us full partners in this fight." As the Liberty jumped to hyperspace, carrying its mixed crew of humans and aliens toward an uncertain future, Jack wondered if they had just saved the galaxy or doomed it. Either way, there was no going back now. Humanity's exile was over, and the real test was just beginning. The Confederation Command Center was a massive space station orbiting the planet Centauri Prime. But when the Liberty arrived, Jack Harrison could see it was barely holding together. Entire sections were dark, damaged by Zephyrian raids. Ships from dozens of alien species clustered around the station like wounded animals seeking shelter. "Welcome to the last free stronghold in the galaxy," Admiral Kessitar said grimly as they docked. 6 months ago, we commanded fleets across 1,000 star systems. Now we hold 23 worlds, and half of those are under siege. Jack walked through the station's corridors and saw the faces of defeat everywhere. Alien species he had only read about in old Earth files sat in refugee camps, having lost everything to the Zephyrian advance. Children who had never known war played quietly, while their parents stared at news reports showing their homeworlds burning. "Sir," Amy Foster said quietly, "these people have been fighting for 3 years. They're exhausted." "They're more than exhausted," Dr. Paul Carter added, studying his medical scanner readings. "Many of these species are suffering from something like collective depression. They've lost hope." In the main conference room, Jack found himself facing the Confederation High Council, representatives of 47 different alien races. Some he recognized from old diplomatic files. Others were completely unknown to him. All of them looked at the human delegation with expressions ranging from desperate hope to barely concealed fear. "Captain Harrison," the council speaker said, her voice carrying the weight of authority despite her obvious exhaustion. "Admiral, Kester's report of your success at Altair Prime has been encouraging. But one victory does not win a war." "No," Jack agreed, "but it proves that humans and Confederation forces can work together effectively. Your people are excellent at organization, logistics, and technology. Humans are good at adaptation and creative problem-solving. Combined, we might have a chance. What do you propose?" Jack activated the holographic display Carter had prepared. It showed the current state of the war in 3 dimensions, with red zones marking Zephyrian-controlled space and tiny blue dots showing remaining Confederation worlds. "We stopped fighting their war," he said simply. "The Zephyrians are winning because they're better at conventional military tactics than anyone in the galaxy. So we changed the rules." "Explain." "Guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale, hit-and-run attacks on supply lines, sabotage operations on occupied worlds, psychological warfare designed to disrupt their hive-mind coordination. We make them fight our kind of war instead of theirs." The room erupted in discussion. Some council members seemed intrigued, others horrified. A representative from the Delian Republic, a species known for their strict military honor codes, stood up angrily. "Captain Harrison, you are suggesting we abandon centuries of civilized warfare in favor of terrorism." "I'm suggesting we do whatever it takes to survive," Jack replied calmly. "Your civilized warfare has cost you half the galaxy in 3 years. How's that working out?" Before the Delian could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the conference room in red as the communications officer's voice filled the air. "All hands incoming Zephyrian fleet. Estimated arrival in 40 minutes. All ships prepare for immediate evacuation." The council members began to panic, but Jack noticed that Admiral Kessitar remained perfectly calm. "How many ships?" Kessitar asked. 60 confirmed, possibly more. "Sir, they found us. Command center is compromised." Jack looked around the room at the alien leaders, seeing the same defeated expression he had witnessed throughout the station. They were already planning to run, again, to find another hiding place and hope it lasted longer than this one. "No," he said firmly. "Captain?" the council speaker asked. "No more running. We make our stand here." "Captain Harrison, you have seen our fleet strength reports. We have perhaps 30 functional warships remaining. The Zephyrians are bringing twice that number, and their ships are individually superior to ours. Then we don't fight a fleet battle. Amy, how long to get evacuation shuttles loaded with non-combat personnel?" Lieutenant Foster, now promoted to commander after her success at Altair Prime, quickly consulted her datapad. 20 minutes if we push it, sir." "Do it." Everyone who can't fight gets off this station now. He turned to address the council. The rest of us are going to give the Zephyrians their first real surprise. What followed was the fastest military reorganization in galactic history. While civilian evacuation shuttles fled toward safer systems, human and alien crew members worked together to turn the command center into something the galaxy had never seen before. A fortress designed not to win, but to teach the enemy a very painful lesson. Danny Martinez, the Liberty's chief engineer, teamed up with Confederation technical specialists to rig the station's main reactor as a massive bomb. Dr. Carter and alien scientists worked to create false sensor readings that would make the Zephyrian fleet believe they were facing a much larger defensive force. Colonel Steve Parker organized mixed human-alien commando teams to board enemy ships during the battle. "Sir," Lisa Mitchell reported, "the Zephyrian fleet is dropping out of hyperspace now, confirming 60 ships, all heavy cruiser class or above." Jack watched the tactical display as the enemy fleet approached in perfect formation. Beautiful, deadly, and completely predictable. "They're hailing us," the communications officer reported. "Put them through." The voice that filled the bridge was cold and mechanical without any trace of individual personality. "Confederation Command Center, you will surrender immediately. Resistance is futile. Your forces will be absorbed into the collective." "This is Admiral Jack Harrison of the Earth Defense Force," Jack replied, using his new rank for the first time. "I have a counteroffer. Leave the system now and we won't destroy your entire fleet." The silence lasted almost 30 seconds. When the Zephyrian voice returned, it carried what might have been confusion. "You have 30 ships. We have 60. Your statement is illogical. Want a bet?" The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. Instead of meeting the Zephyrians in traditional ship-to-ship combat, the defenders used every dirty trick humans had ever invented. Hidden mines turned space into a killing field. False sensor ghosts made the enemy waste ammunition on targets that did not exist. Boarding parties captured Zephyrian ships and turned their own weapons against their former allies. But it was Amy Foster who delivered the killing blow. While the main battle raged, she led a small team of volunteers on a suicide mission to the Zephyrian command ship. Using tactics borrowed from ancient Earth naval warfare, they disabled the enemy flagship's engines and life support, forcing the entire Zephyrian fleet to break off their attack to rescue their command crew. "Zephyrian fleet withdrawing," Lisa reported with amazement in her voice. "Sir, we actually did it. We beat them." Jack looked around the battle-scarred bridge, seeing human and alien crew members embracing each other in victory. For the first time in 3 years, the Confederation had won a major engagement against the Zephyrians. Damage report: 7 ships lost, but we took out 15 Zephyrian vessels. More importantly, we captured their command ship's database. Dr. Carter is analyzing it now. Carter looked up from his station, his face pale with shock. "Jack, you need to see this. The Gateway project we detected earlier. It's not what we thought, it's worse. Much worse." The holographic display showed technical schematics that made Jack's blood run cold. The Zephyrians were not just conquering the galaxy. They were preparing it for something that would make their invasion look like a minor inconvenience. "They're building a permanent gateway to the Andromeda galaxy," Carter explained. "Big enough to bring through their entire civilization. Billions of ships, trillions of Zephyrian drones. They're not here to conquer us. They're here to replace us entirely." Admiral Kessitar studied the data with growing horror. "How long until the gateway is operational?" "Based on these construction schedules, maybe 6 months." Jack felt the weight of the entire galaxy settling on his shoulders. They had won one battle, but the real war was just beginning. And if they failed, every living thing in the galaxy would be extinct within a year. "Gather the fleet," he ordered. "All of it. Every ship, every crew member, every resource the Confederation has left. We're going to the galactic core." "Sir?" Amy asked. "We're going to destroy that gateway before they can use it, even if it kills us all." The fleet that assembled for the final assault was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 2,000 ships from 47 different species, united under human tactical leadership for the first time in galactic history. Admiral Jack Harrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty, looking out at the greatest military force ever assembled, and wondered if it would be enough. Fleet status report, he called to his staff. All ships ready for hyperspace jump, Commander Amy Foster reported. Mixed human-alien crew assignments are functioning better than expected. Combat efficiency is up 30% over standard Confederation levels. Dr. Carter, what are we facing at the galactic core? Paul Carter looked exhausted. He had spent weeks analyzing captured Zephyrian data, and what he had found kept him awake at night. The gateway itself is massive. Nearly the size of Earth's moon, built from materials harvested from destroyed star systems. It's protected by at least 500 Zephyrian ships, plus automated defense platforms. And if we fail to destroy it, the Andromeda invasion begins. Full-scale colonization by a civilization that has consumed 3 entire galaxies. Everything living in the Milky Way will be extinct within 5 years. Jack turned to address the mixed crowd of human and alien officers on the bridge. These people had learned to work together despite centuries of mistrust and fear. They represented the best hope for galactic civilization. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said quietly, "this is probably going to be a one-way trip. The Zephyrians will throw everything they have at us. Most of us won't make it home." The bridge was silent. Then Lieutenant Commander Danny Martinez spoke, up from his engineering station. "Sir, with respect, I don't think any of us expected to make it home when we signed up for this mission. Earth was dying when we left. The galaxy was being conquered by monsters from another dimension. We're already living on borrowed time." "Martinez is right," Colonel Steve Parker added. "Better to die fighting than to wait for the end hiding in some cave." Admiral Kester, now serving as Jack's alien liaison, moved his forearms in what had become a familiar gesture of agreement. "Captain Harrison, my people have a saying. The tree that bends may survive the storm, but the tree that stands firm gives shelter to others. Today, we stand firm." Jack felt a surge of pride and terror. These beings, human and alien alike, were ready to sacrifice everything for a chance to save their galaxy. He could not let them down. "All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump to the galactic core. Operation Starburst is a go." The journey to the galactic core took 6 hours. 6 hours for final equipment checks, last messages to loved ones, and quiet conversations about what they might find waiting for them. Jack spent the time walking through the Liberty, talking to crew members from a dozen different species who had somehow learned to function as a single unit. In the engine room he found Danny Martinez working alongside a Delian engineer, their species' ancient hatred forgotten in the face of shared purpose. In the medical bay, Dr. Carter collaborated with alien physicians to develop treatments for Zephyrian biological weapons. Throughout the ship, humans and aliens worked together with an efficiency that would have seemed impossible just months ago. "Drop out of hyperspace in 30 seconds, Amy announced over the ship's communication system. When the fleet emerged from hyperspace, the sight before them defied description. The Zephyrian gateway hung in space like a massive metal ring, crackling with energy that distorted space itself. Around it, hundreds of enemy ships moved in perfect formation, protecting their prize with clockwork precision. "Mother of God," someone whispered on the bridge. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildup in the gateway structure," Carter reported. "They're beginning the activation sequence. We have maybe 4 hours before the first Andromeda ships start coming through." Jack looked at the tactical display. 2,000 allied ships against 500 Zephyrians in the most heavily fortified position in the galaxy. The math was not encouraging. "All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. Execute Plan Alpha. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and don't give them time to think." What followed was the largest space battle in galactic history. The Allied fleet split into dozens of smaller groups, each attacking from different angles using tactics that blended human unpredictability with alien technical precision. Zephyrian ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, but for every enemy vessel destroyed, the Allies lost 2 of their own. "Amy, take your squadron and clear us a path to the gateway," Jack ordered. We need to get the Liberty close enough for Carter to deploy his quantum bombs. Yes, sir. Good luck. Amy Foster, now commanding her own ship and squadron, led a desperate charge through the heart of the Zephyrian defense line. Her mixed human-alien crew fought with a coordination that amazed even Jack. They had learned not just to fight together, but to think together. Sir, Carter called from his station. The quantum bombs are ready, but someone needs to deliver them manually to the gateway's core. The energy fields are too strong for remote detonation. Jack felt his stomach drop. They had always known this was a possibility, but hoping for a better solution right up until the end. I'll do it, he said. No, sir, Lisa Mitchell interrupted. The fleet needs you to coordinate the battle. I'm the logical choice. Lisa, sir, I've been your second in command for 15 years. I know how you think, how you fight, but the fleet needs a leader who can inspire them to keep fighting even after this is over. That's you, not me. Before Jack could argue, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. The gateway was powering up ahead of schedule. Energy cascade. Beginning, Carter reported in panic. Sir, the first portal is opening. I can see ships on the other side. Through the view screen, Jack watched as reality itself seemed to tear open. Through the gap, massive vessels began to emerge. Not hundreds of ships, thousands, tens of thousands. The full might of the Zephyrian collective, ready to complete their conquest of the galaxy. Lisa, go now, Jack ordered. Danny, give her everything. The engines have. Lisa Mitchell grabbed the quantum bomb package and ran for the shuttle bay. As her small craft launched toward the gateway, Jack found himself praying to gods he was not sure he believed in. Sir, Amy's voice crackled over the radio. We've cleared the approach route, but Lisa's shuttle is taking heavy fire. I don't think she's going to make it. Jack watched on the tactical display as his oldest friend's shuttle weaved through a storm of Zephyrian weapons fire. The small craft was hit repeatedly, venting atmosphere and losing power, but Lisa kept flying. Lisa, your ship is breaking apart, he called over the radio. I know, Jack, but I'm almost there. Tell Amy she did good. Tell Carter his bombs better work. And Jack, tell Earth that we kept our promise. The shuttle disappeared into the gateway's energy field. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to scream as the quantum bombs detonated in perfect sequence. The gateway collapsed in on itself, taking the emerging Zephyrian fleet with it. The energy feedback traveled back through the interdimensional portal and across the galaxy. Every Zephyrian ship suddenly went dark as their connection to the hive mind was severed. Sir, Carter reported with amazement in his voice. It worked. The gateway is destroyed and the Zephyrian fleet they're just floating there. No movement, no coordination. It's like they all died at once. Jack looked around the bridge at the faces of humans and aliens who had just saved their galaxy. They had paid a terrible price. Nearly half the Allied fleet was gone and Lisa Mitchell would never come home. But they had won. All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. The gateway is destroyed. The invasion is over. Begin rescue operations for all survivors, including Zephyrian crew members. Sir? Amy asked over the radio. The hive mind is gone, Amy. Those Zephyrian soldiers are probably scared and confused individuals now. We helped them, just like we'd help anyone else. 5 years later, Jack stood on the observation deck of Earth's first orbital diplomatic station, watching ships from across the galaxy arrive for the anniversary celebration. The war was over, the galaxy was rebuilding, and humanity had found its place among the stars. Amy Foster, now an admiral herself, joined him at the window. Hard to believe it's been 5 years. Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Other times it feels like a lifetime ago. Any regrets? Jack thought about Lisa Mitchell, about all the good people who had died in the final battle, about the long road that had brought humanity from exile to galactic leadership. No regrets, he said finally. We did what we had to do. We saved the galaxy and proved that humans and aliens can build something better together than either could build alone. Outside the window, a Zephyrian ship docked with the station. Its crew were individuals now, free from the hive mind, learning to think and feel for themselves. Some had joined Confederation science teams. Others had become explorers, seeking new worlds to call home. "What's next for humanity?" Amy asked. Jack smiled, watching as human and alien children played together in the station's central garden. "The same thing that's always been next for humanity. We explore, we learn, we grow, and we make sure that what happened here never happens again." The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers they had not yet imagined. But for the first time in centuries, all its peoples faced the future together, united by the knowledge that they were stronger.